Good evening, everybody. Senator McCain today pandering to business special interest groups with his unqualified support for NAFTA. But the senator didn't deliver his pro-free trade pitch in this country, where millions of jobs have been lost as a result of those agreements. Instead, he went to Canada to talk to their business elites. And Senator Obama today also pandering for votes in Florida, trying to convince ethnocentric special interest groups there that he should have their votes. Our coverage tonight begins with Dana Bash with the McCain campaign in, of all places, Ottawa. Dana.
Well, John McCain's visit here to Canada was quite unusual. It was a campaign trip where the candidate insisted it wasn't about politics. No, this isn't a battleground state. It's Canada.
There aren't any electoral votes to be won up here in the middle of a presidential election.
Before his visit, advisors called this a chance to establish differences with Barack Obama on NAFTA, the U.S. trade agreement with Canada and Mexico. He did, subtly.
Threatening to abrogate an agreement that has increased trade and prosperity is nothing more than retreating behind protectionist walls.
That was intended as a shot at Obama's rhetoric during the Democratic primaries against the agreement.
I don't think NAFTA has been good for America, and I never have.
But in Canada, McCain refused to really engage.
This is not a political campaign trip.
Surreal, since at the same time, McCain's campaign was seizing on the day's theme, firing off emails on what appeared to be an Obama change in tone on NAFTA, suggesting to Fortune magazine his anti-NAFTA rhetoric during the primaries was overheated. In Florida, Obama tried to clarify his stance on NAFTA.
We didn't have enforceable labor and environmental agreements in that agreement.
But back in Ottawa, where the candidate who crossed the border to talk trade just wouldn't go there.
I cannot here. I can as soon as I return to the United States. But that would then lend a political bent to this visit.
That was put together and executed by your presidential campaign, not your Senate office. So how is it not political?
Because we didn't feel it was appropriate for the taxpayers, while I am the nominee of my party, to pay for a trip that would have accrued to the cost of the taxpayers.
Now, McCain often points to his extensive experience traveling around the world as a senator as one of the reasons why he thinks voters should elect him. He said today that he is going to continue traveling abroad during the presidential campaign. But if his trip here to Canada was any example, it's a pretty tough task for a candidate to travel anywhere during the heat of the campaign and insist it's not about politics. Lou?
But at the same time, he would have been roundly criticized, Dana, would he not, if he had been standing on Canadian soil, engaging in presidential politics?
Well, it's a possibility, and from his perspective, clearly a probability. I mean, what his campaign said today, Lou, is that from his perspective, he's old school. Unlike some politicians that you've seen lately, he abides by the old adage that politics, from his perspective, still should end at the water's edge, or in this case, in the northern border.